welcome back to the Geeks and Company. It's me, Editor Megan, and I have some thoughts that I need to impart onto you guys over Agatha All Along, and the finale specifically, but also the season as a whole. We're going to talk about it. I am going to be mentioning a lot of details. It's going to get spoilery, so if you have not seen all of Agatha All Along, make sure you go and watch that first, and then come back here, because I don't want to spoil things for you, but also we need to get details. This is going to require details. So Agatha All Along, as a whole, is a show that I absolutely loved. It's one of the few things that has come out from Marvel recently, especially TV-wise, that I've been super excited to tune in every single week. I've gotten really sad when I can't watch it the night it premieres, and especially last week's episode, episode 7, might be the best TV show episode that I've seen in a good long while. And I'm including the other things that I've been watching on this channel. I'm including Rings of Power, I'm including Vox Machina, I am including House of the Dragon. Episode 7 of Agatha All Along was so good. So let's go back a little ways. I've already talked about the first half of this series on the mid-season review that I did, so we're gonna jump in kind of from the midway point. In episode 5, a lot of important plot things happen that carry through into where they're going with the finale for this. So episode 5 was Agatha's trial along the road. So in her trial, basically her purpose, her trial, was to be punished by her coven, which, super weird. Don't like where they were going with that, but the thing that broke my heart in it is her punishment was killing Alice. Jen is very judgmental for her about it. Teen absolutely hates her now that she's done that. Lilia is also not super talkative about it, but doesn't seem super happy, because she killed someone. They're not gonna be happy about that. The interactions that Agatha and Rio had in that episode really, I think, fleshed out their relationship a little bit. Seeing Rio say that her mother can't have her, even though she was ready to kill Agatha a few minutes earlier. I think that protectiveness, and the first moment of seeing Rio actually be, upset, and maybe even a little scared, she was having not a good time for the first time on the road. Because every other time when there's been death and mayhem and danger, she's just smiling, wandering around, cackling. Before they actually got to Agatha's trial, they fly on brooms. They actually get to make brooms. It's Teen's idea. I love the rant that Lilia has about them being derivative, and it's now so taken by the holiday industrial complex. But yeah, knowing that Agatha's punishment, which is how they get through the trial, is her coven hating her again. That they're looping back around to her being an outcast, her being the one that never has a coven. She's always a solitary witch. That just, it pulled at the feelings. I didn't like that, but also I really liked that because good storytelling. And then once they get off of the road, this is when everything happens. We find out, confirmed, that Billy is Billy. He's William Kaplan, but also Billy Maximoff. I guess convenient finding a body that already kind of has your same name? Him getting into Jen and Lilia's minds and making them throw Agatha off the road, and then him pushing them off the road, was a very violent outburst, and I didn't know where they were gonna go from that. And the fact that they jumped the next episode after that into his, flashback backstory, I liked it, but I also didn't like it. I don't particularly like prequel things, which we get another of at the very end of this season. With them doing his backstory, I think they kind of dove a bit deeper into it than it had to be. Although, seeing the scene from episode 1 from his perspective was quite funny. I think they could have worked through the flashback a little bit faster and then gotten some more time in the present moment with Agatha and Billy on the road. The way that they did it, we got good information and it explained a lot of things leading up. We found out that Lilia was the one that originally put the sigil on Billy, which, I mean, makes sense now that you think back on it, because Agatha was saying, oh, this is really old magic, no one uses this anymore. And they're always saying how old Lilia is, so old witch, old magic. Makes sense. The speech that Agatha gives to Billy at the end of that episode, once we're back in that, like, present time moment of episode 6, I don't know if they were going for it, but it still felt really heartfelt, even though she was kind of, like, digging at him a couple of times. The whole explanation of, you found a way to survive, you're powerful, don't feel bad for finding a way to survive, that's what makes you a witch. That felt like something that she wishes that her mother would have told her with how her power is. Because Agatha's power is taking other witches' power. She drains them from magic, and then she has it and she can do other things, but we don't have confirmation of this because even though they did an entire flashback for Agatha at the very end of the series, we didn't actually get to find out why her coven originally was blasting her and calling her an abomination. We're going to assume it's because she did her, like, purple sucky magic thing, but they didn't show us that. It would have been nice if they showed us that. The end of episode 6 definitely makes you think that it's just Agatha and Billy that are left. Rio's disappeared for some reason. Jen and Lilia were tossed off the road and sucked down into the dirt. Having them disappear makes it feel like the rest of the story is going to be a journey forward just with Agatha and Billy. I'm glad they didn't go that route because episode 7 is the best episode in this season. It's focused on Lilia, which I didn't think was going to be something that would, like, draw me in, because up until this point, Rio and Agatha have been, like, my center focus for the show. I've been really loving things that focus on those two characters and their relationship together. But this episode, it opens with Lilia in basically a Glinda the Good Witch costume, falling backwards. And it's a close-up on her face, and it's so beautifully shot. And then for the remainder of that episode, we're jumping around. And the reason we're jumping around is because for the first time, Lilia is the, like, point of view character for this episode. And she's doing something that they don't call time slipping, but if you saw Loki, like, you kind of get it. Like, she's time slipping, she's jumping around to different points in her life, basically without her control. Things are just happening. And following the plot of the story through Lilia's perspective to see all of the different things that she sees, it makes how she's been acting make so much more sense. Knowing that she lives her life out of sequence, and it's been good for a while, but it was really bad when she was young, and it's really bad now. And hearing her say it's because she's near the end choked me up and gave me so many emotions. And seeing her, like, work through all of the little things that she's been saying that don't make sense, that are out of sequence with what the conversations have been in every episode leading up to this, fills out the picture so beautifully. Hearing the stick of, like, I love you guys, I didn't think we were going to be getting along, but now I love you guys, or seeing the jump between Alice don't and then save Agatha when she was talking to Alice and to Agatha. So good. I don't know if they're going to nominate this show for, like, Emmys or anything, but if they're going to, this'll be the episode to do it from. And it really shows tarot in a very interesting way in this episode, knowing that they're giving the different, like, perspectives of the cards and the orientation that the cards would have and symbolism for the way that they do that. That was very cool to me. I love that little detail and how much information they actually drew from, like, practical real-world tarot was so cool. And then at the very end, after Lilia's read all the cards for herself, she's saved her coven, she gets everybody out of the trial ahead of her, and then closes the door behind her. I didn't know how to deal with it. Her closing the door behind her, and then seeing the Salem 7 come in from the walls and surround her, and you know that she knows that she's doing this to save the people that she cares about, the people that found her purpose near the end of her life. And then she grabs the table and she turns over the card, and the entire tower flips, and they all fall onto, all of the Salem 7 fall onto the swords that were previously on the ceiling, and she just lets go and then smiles as she's falling and she's gonna die. I'm not okay. TV and movies and everything this year is just not good for my emotional state. We already saw Rhaenys have a very similar shot of the falling backwards with the close-up on her face, and now they're doing it to me in this show too, and I'm not okay. From that point, we get into the season finale. I don't want to say series finale because of the way the entire thing ends. I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be a one-off, but like, the beginning of the season finale, the 2 episodes that they released yesterday, we have Jen trying desperately to get back to Lilia and not able to, and they're still just toying with my emotions because, oh my god. But while Jen and Billy are still in the little like tower stair thing to like leave the one challenge and go back up onto the road, while they're still in there, Rio and Agatha are on the road and they're talking, and we've had confirmation last episode, like proper confirmation, that Rio is death, which freaking cool. I really wish that they hadn't spoiled that with the Funko Pop releases, but it was still cool to see. It was still very cool to see. And I love the symbolism that they have for her. They went very like Dia de los Muertos and like the skulls imagery and the like flowers and her having her dagger and then the flower in her other hand. It was very cool. I like the whole vibe that they're giving her. So Rio and Agatha having that conversation on the road about Rio didn't think that Agatha was going to actually follow up on her end of the bargain and have dead witches. She thought that maybe she was like bonding with her coven and she's particularly attached to Billy. But Agatha says, I don't know, I don't particularly care. I'll give you Billy. You know who he is now, and you know that he's not supposed to exist. He's supposed to be dead. So she makes a deal and says that she wants freedom. She wants Rio to stop following her and to not see Rio when she dies a long, long, long time from now. The look that Aubrey Plaza put into her face and the like subtle expressions that she had during that, like Rio looked genuinely hurt that Agatha didn't want to see her anymore and didn't want to see her when she died. Which, like, I need more of their actual relationship, because we were told we were gonna get more of their relationship in this finale, and we didn't. The thing that they had as, like, backstory in the next episode was not backstory. There was not enough details. I feel so cheated. They have that conversation, then Agatha continues on a little bit. We finally get Billy and Jen leaving the past trial and continuing up onto the road and meeting up with Agatha. And they go on together. There's the 3 of them, they're walking, and then suddenly, they're back at the beginning. What are they supposed to do? They've just reached their shoes again. There hasn't been a Green Witch trial yet. They don't know what to do. Billy is so upset that there isn't anything there, he just puts his shoes back on, and as soon as he puts his foot into the boot, it cuts to a different thing. Suddenly, everyone's in body bags popping out in this sterile room out of these little cubbies. They're in these like medical gowns, and there's a blank room with metal walls and a concrete floor and grow lights around the ceiling. And this is the Green Witch trial, so you need to make something grow in this terrible, sterile environment. It seems like they're gonna try and go forward with that until they start interacting with each other. And the thing that they find out is that Agatha was the one that bound Jen originally, just as like, not a personal binding, but she made the spell to give to this like Boston doctor dude to be able to do it. So because Agatha was the source of that magic, Jen was able to grab her hair and like wrap it around Agatha's wrists and break the binding, so Jen got her magic back. And since what she was on the road for was to get her power back, as soon as she has that magic, she disappears. She's off the road. So now it's just Agatha and Billy, and the way that Agatha takes that moment and decides to save Billy instead of trying to take his power for herself to get off the road. So as soon as Billy knows where Tommy is, he's found his brother, he also disappears off the road. So now Agatha is alone in this empty room with the lights slowly fading out, all turning off one by one, And then she opens up her locket, one little dandelion seed, and she takes that dandelion seed that she found in the locket with her son's hair, and she uses the water from her tears, and the ground had cracked open a little bit when she had used power to help Billy find Tommy. So she puts the seed into the dirt and covers it over and is able to use magic that she doesn't have. She's not a green witch. She was able to use magic to grow that little dandelion. And she survives. She makes it through the trial. She gets all the way out. And the face-off that her and Rio have of wanting... Rio feels like she got cheated out because she didn't get Billy as per their deal, and Agatha feels like she got cheated because she doesn't still have access to her power even though she completed the road. It's very tense, and I was just a little disappointed when they'd hit the moment of when she calls you a coward, hit the deck, and then Agatha drops down and magic suddenly surges up to help. But it's not Lilia, it is Billy. I was personally of the opinion that since every other premonition that Lilia had had in episode 7 was a moment in time that she saw by, like, jumping around to, that, like, maybe she wasn't dead and she was gonna be there to be able to help and do things, but she wasn't. And I was sad. But another bit of character growth for Agatha is she's able to take power from Billy, but stop before she takes it all. Like, she doesn't kill him, but she's able to take enough power that she has her purple. She has her purple back again. And they have this confrontation, and the fight ends up being between Billy and Agatha against Rio. And they realize they're like, you can't fight death, so they need to do something together. And I don't know if it was intended to always be a double cross or like a way to make him volunteer, but Agatha says that it should be her, that she should be the one that goes with Rio that dies. And then Billy jumps up and is like, no, it should be me. And then she goes, well, you heard the kid, it should be him. As promised, he volunteered to go with you, he's gonna die. And she gets ready to wander off, saying, make sure you fix up my garden, put in some azaleas, that'll be good. And Billy speaks into her mind, saying, is this how Nick died? And it's nothing to do with how Nicholas died, because we find out in the next episode exactly what happened there. But I don't know if it was that moment, or if she was always planning on, like, doubling back, but Agatha turns around and goes up to Rio and gives herself up with the kiss of death. Which, I like seeing them finally kiss, because they're supposed to be that they have a relationship. But, like, why did their first, like, actual relationship, emotion, interaction have to be resulting in one of them dying? I wish that they had a nicer moment. One thing that I really liked as far as details go is when Agatha, when she went into the ground, I need to look at closer shots of the video, but I think that the flowers that Rio, like, grew up around her little grave, I think they might actually have been azaleas. So, like, the call into what she had been like, fix up my garden, plant azaleas, was fun. But then I also looked up what the, like, historical and magical, like, meanings and properties are supposed to be for azaleas. And I guess in, like, Victorian times when they had their whole, like, flower language thing, azaleas had a little bit of, like, dual symbolism, because they were, well, they are toxic. And they were supposed to mean, like, caution and threats, and if you sent a bouquet of azaleas in a black vase, it was a death threat. But also, depending on their connotation, they can be used to symbolize femininity and passion. So having it be that sort of a flower, and that was the one that they called out, like, fun little details. I like that. That made me happy. And then that's seemingly pretty much the end of the episode. We're right near the end of episode 8. There's gonna be one more, so at this moment, what are they gonna do with that? But we're not there yet. At the end of episode 8, we then follow Billy as he leaves Rio tells him to go. Agatha is dead. He's gonna leave. He's gonna go back home. And he drives back home. His parents find him walking in, like, covered in blood and cuts and problems because, of course. We find out that it's only been 24 hours, so he's been missing, but he hasn't been, like, missing. Time's kind of wibbly-wobbly on the road, apparently. He goes up into his room, and he starts noticing just these little details. Like, the Wicked Witch icon that he's got on a shelf, and the row of shoes on another little bookcase, and this extra set of tree sculpture that he's got underneath. And it's starting to mention all of these little lines from the previous episodes as they're showing this. And it's bringing this all together, that the road had been this manifestation of his. The way that Wanda created the hex to make this, like, world with her children and her husband and having it within her power, but she didn't know how she did it. Apparently her son has also developed this ability because he created the road without realizing that he created the road. He's freaking out realizing he created the road when suddenly he hears a disembodied voice behind him and he turns around and it's the end of the episode. And then we're jumping into 9. So the way that they did for 9, the promos that I saw said that it was going to be the backstory for Agatha and it would show her and Rio's relationship. And it kind of gave a backstory for Agatha. Not really. It basically just picked up from when she was going to be having Nikki and then the next, like, 6 years. But we see Agatha when she's giving birth and then suddenly Rio's there. And Agatha realizes this means that her son's going to be stillborn. And she says, no, don't do it. If you do this, I'll never forgive you. And Rio and her clearly already have a relationship because they say, like, my love. So, would have been nice to see how that developed instead of just jumping in midway when we were told that we were going to get some explanation. So Rio says that she can't stop it, but the only thing that she can do is give Agatha time. Rio disappears before Agatha can get an answer out of her about how much time she'll be able to have with her son. But she's able to give birth and she has her little Nicholas. And then it was a weird choice that they made, I think, at least character-wise, that immediately she starts just using her son as a tool to kill other witches. We have no justification or reasoning on why she does this, on, like, what's prompting her to do this. The only thing that they, like, kind of allude to with it happening is the one day later on, like way later on, right near the end, the only time that Agatha and Nicholas don't kill a witch that day, apparently, is the day that Rio then comes to get him 6 years later. So it would have been nice to have some sort of background on, like, is Agatha killing all of these people with her son as, like, offerings to Rio, that she's giving her other souls and spirits and lives in order to keep protecting Nicholas, in order to, like, get him more time? I mean, that would help, but it would have been really nice to have this, like, important emotional touchstone relationship that Agatha clearly has with Nicholas, to have it not be something that was kind of, like, tainted by evil and darkness and death, because having her be using him his whole life to kill other people kind of gets rid of that, like, wholesome emotional tie that I feel like they were going for between her and him. Like, she's carrying around this locket and still can't, like, hear his name or face up to the emotions that she has for him all of these, like, centuries later. But she was using him in a con to just murder people, so feels like a weird storytelling choice if we want to have, like, this emotional touchstone, but I don't know. And something that we find out is along the route with Nicholas, while they've been walking, him and her, like Nicholas and Agatha, are actually the ones that came up with the Witch's Road ballot, and it originally was just about them traveling together and walking the windy road. And it changed and twisted and turned, and after Nicholas died, she's singing this verse to his grave to, like, continue on this thing that they had together, and a witch comes across her and asks her, oh, like, you know where this is, can you show me where the Witch's Road is? And it starts the whole con about the Witch's Road. And it flashes through these different scenes of her using different covens to try and access the Witch's Road, and when it doesn't work, oh, well, like, you guys, it's clearly that there's, like, no good witches here. This is a sham of a coven, all of you aren't worthy of having power. Basically a version of the speech that she was starting to give the coven earlier in the season. And knowing that that was kind of like the con the whole time, seeing the cutback in this episode to show that scene again, and then her face when the door actually opens and there is a Witch's Road, there's something there. That was such a cool, like, tie-in, and I wonder if in that moment if she already knew that he was Billy, that Teen was the one that had this sort of power. Because I feel like that's kind of what they're alluding to, which would make it quite cool that she, like, still had this bond with him the whole time, up until she was angry and, like, called him out for being just like his mother. And the only bits that we got of Rio and Agatha together was at the very beginning of episode 9, when she's supposed to originally come and take away Agatha's stillborn son, and says that she can give her more time and that she's, like, getting preferential treatment. And then a silent scene of when Rio shows up and takes Nikki when she actually is taking his soul and he's dying, and she, like, tells him to go back and say goodbye to his mom while she's sleeping, which, like, emotions. But those two moments, that does not a relationship backstory make. I still don't know how they met, I still don't know how they fall in love, I don't know how, like, which one's pursuing them, what was the circumstances, what was their actual relationship like, did they interact, did they kill people together, what happened? I still want more of this, and honestly, the way that this season wrapped up, I think there's a possibility for a season 2, because we see Jen with her power, like, flying off into the distance. We have Agatha, who's a ghost now. That's why there was a disembodied voice behind Billy, and when he turns around, we see floaty ghost Agatha with her, like, white hair like in the comics now, so that was kind of fun. We have Billy that's, like, off to go and find Tommy now, I guess, because he just reincarnated his brother when he was on the road. So they need to go and find him. Rio obviously is still out there because you can't kill Death, she's gonna continue being a character. So, like, I think that there are the makings that they could continue this on into another season, because there's so many loose threads and unexplored character arcs and ways that this could continue. I honestly would love if this would just be a series on its own. There's a lot of Marvel things that are going to be coming out that I don't really care about, I don't have a lot of emotional attachment into anymore, but this, I want more of this, because I don't think we got enough. For this to just be a one-off series, I need more. Okay guys, so if you have watched Agatha All Along, and if you have any thoughts, if you think I should have, like, touched on any specific points that I left out, I've kind of been jumping all around, I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings, and it's been hard to kind of cohesively express them, so I'm so sorry. I'll try and edit this into something that makes some sort of sense. I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you want more Agatha? What do you think about the season that we got? And I guess that is it for today. Stay geeky, guys, and we will see you in another video. Bye.